It's really an honor to be here and got an invitation to speak about some activities ongoing right now in European Union. So my name is Jari Reini and I'm from the National Land Survey of Finland. And the topic, as Alan mentioned, is Open Data Directive and especially its High-Value Datasets Implementing Act. If we start with a few words about European Union, the EU is a political and economic union of 27 member states which are located in Europe. I don't have such a nice picture, but here is the globe and you can see some of the European Union countries. European Commission has made a lot of different priorities in the last 5 years, and I would like to highlight some of them right now on the screen, where one of the most important things is so-called European Green Deal and its data spaces. And in that we are of course using and delivering quite a lot of geospatial data. And also there are many strategic activities ongoing as well, but I just would like to highlight these two, but there are obviously many others as well. European strategy for data, it really aims to create European single market for data. It highlights the problems to address: data availability, interoperability, quality, governance and infrastructures, as well as we need more and more skills, and cybersecurity with the common political level is very, very important. And having those in place, there will be a common European data space with several different sectoral data spaces. And in order to achieve many of these things, we of course need some standards to implement our services. European Union created Open Data Directive already back in 2019, and it has been there for several years. But last year in December, actually they made so-called Implementing Act on High-Value Datasets, which was then adopted. And the scope for that is to publish high-value open data from public authorities and governments. So what are these high-value datasets? There are several different thematic categories which are presented on the screen: geospatial, Earth observation and environment, meteorological, statistics, companies and company ownership, and mobility. And this kind of themes, we are planning to make the data available for reuse free of charge. The Implementing Act is actually on quite high level. It has a list of these datasets and it has some requirements like key attributes, what attributes should be in the dataset, granularity, level of details, formats and license. But those are quite open, and that's why we have this ISO TC 211 ad hoc group on EU data spaces, that we will create some recommendations which standards should be used when implementing these high-value datasets. The data should be made available in machine-readable formats. It doesn't say more, it can be just a machine-readable format, so we will create some recommendations for that, and also via APIs. But it doesn't go into the details what kind of APIs we should provide. This is maybe not that visible on the screen, but these are the teams in geospatial data team or datasets in geospatial team. We have administrative units, geographical names, addresses and buildings, as well as cadastral parcels, and then maybe more to agricultural area to have reference parcels and agricultural parcels. We have some definitions of granularity, mainly up to the scale of 1 to 5,000 is the requirement, or it can be, of course, more detailed as well. And the geographic coverage should be as one single service from the whole country or as multiple different services and data sets. If we have a bit look on the key attributes, common for all these different teams is that you must have a unique identifier of each object, as well as you need a geometry. Then other attributes are varying, of course, depending on what kind of data you have. For instance, for buildings, you should have the number of floors and the type of use. For addresses, of course, we need a house number, street name, municipality, province, country, postcode, etc. So different key attributes. But the modeling can be made or decided on your own. So there might be a less interoperability if we define different models. So of course, trying also during this ad hoc group work to define how we should provide our data. And these similar kind of requirements and definitions are for the other teams as well, but today I will only present this geospatial theme. So in total, very important characteristics, free of charge. We need extensive metadata also. It's defined actually by Inspire Directive, so requirements are coming from there. It must be in machine-readable format. We should have APIs and bulk download when relevant. So bulk download means that you can download the whole dataset in one place. Publicly available documentation, Creative Commons by 4.0 license or equivalent, or less restrictive. So if you have less restrictive license, you can use that as well. And with these activities, of course, trying to help climate change and environment, economical things, innovation and artificial intelligence. So these data sets will be used for different initiatives. And of course, reusing the data for different use cases. So how to implement these high-value data sets? As it was said, you should have API, and that's all. That's the definition by European Union. So now we are jumping in a little bit, thinking about what are the potential options. This is not a definite list of standards to be used, but of course, current ISO OGC web services like WFS, WCS can be used, but maybe more moving forward to OGC API family, especially for geospatial data using OGC API features or ISO 19168-1 and 2 as well, as we will have different coordinate reference systems. And maybe for meteorological information or that team, OGC API EDR, quite a new standard as well. In environmental data retrieval could be a good option. And there are more and more standards upcoming, which have been heard during this week by OGC and others as well. So a lot of things are ongoing, and those will be recommended to use in this high-value dataset implementation. But the API itself, it doesn't help yet. What is the format? How you would like to get the data? So here are some options again, not a definite list. It may change. We may have some other formats as well. We've used in Inspire directly and in our community quite a long time geography markup language, GML, but now we see the trend more towards JSON, so GeoJSON as one option, but it has some limitations. It supports only WGS84 coordinate reference systems. It doesn't have very complex geometries. So in some of the themes like mobility, we may have very different kind of curves and clotoids and others. So indeed, GeoJSON is not good enough for that. But surprisingly, OGC is working on JSON FG, features and geometries, where there will be coordinate reference system support. There will be some spatiotemporal aspects included there as well. It will have schema support and other things, so that might be a good option in the future to deliver high-value datasets as JSON FG. Also, GeoPackets as a single database file could be a good option for some of the use cases. But these are not really limited by the European Union, so these are more our recommendations that we all should use more or less similar formats and similar modeling. So that was quite simple to have a data available, and then we are giving a fuel to European data spaces. So on the screen you see some of these data spaces starting from health, ending with skills, but potentially from geospatial community, most of the data goes to Green Deal data space in the middle, as well as agriculture and mobility. But of course, in some use cases for healthcare, geospatial data is everywhere, so we can use, of course, this data in other data spaces as well. So we start from the data, we deliver through APIs, then those are so-called high-value datasets, and those are consumed by these data spaces. Thank you. This really covered my presentation. When you get the material, there were many links available as well, so you can get more details, but due to some time limitations, I will conclude my presentation here. Thank you.